Fear and frustration as families struggle to feed their hungry babies.
Why is there a formula shortage? It's not COVID shipping delays. Capitalism works. Other supermarket shelves are filled. Plus, other countries have no shortage. Here are shelves in Mexico, Sweden, France.
The problem, as usual, is really the law itself.
Trade specialist Scott Lincicome calls this a government-caused shortage. You won't hear that from most media. They cover the business that announced a problem.
Abbott Nutrition has issued a voluntary recall for powdered baby formula.
We are here because a company was not able to guarantee that its plant was safe, and that plant has shut down.
But normally, one factory closure doesn't cause massive shortages.
In a free market, you would expect to be able to fill in the gaps left by Abbott.
But America's baby formula market is not a free market.
The dairy industry gives millions to politicians.
The dairy industry in the United States has a really long history of lobbying the government and achieving protection.
That's why it's so hard to bring foreign formula here. Dairy industry lobbyists got Congress to slap fat tariffs on formula from overseas. There was a gray market where people were getting around these rules.
American parents enlisted third-party sellers to obtain European infant formula.
Boxes of formula arrived, but customs wouldn't let American parents have it.
Customs, at the FDA's direction, has been seizing European baby formula shipments at the border, much like a drug seizure.
They even brag about it.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized nearly $162,000 worth of mislabeled baby formula.
Customs then destroys the formula. Some are banned even if the ingredients are just listed in the wrong order.
If you have the wrong scooper, banned. If you don't list a certain ingredient that the FDA demands, you're banned. Even if a third-party retailer provides you with the English translation, it's banned.
I would think the government now would suspend those rules.
Certainly should, but the dairy industry lobbied very hard for these rules that have provided them essentially a captive market. They're not going to give that up easily.
So what's our government doing now? Sending military planes to pick up formula in Germany. Operation Fly Formula, the administration calls it. But they pick up only the few bottles made in FDA-approved facilities. And then they waste time inspecting it on arrival. They say they just want to make sure the formula is safe.
I think a legitimate concern if it were infant formula coming from perhaps China. But the fact is that the largest producer and exporter of infant formula is in Europe.
Maybe the European product isn't as safe.
It is safe. It's safe for European babies. It's exported all over the world. What we really need is a regime that simply says, if it's approved abroad, it's approved here. Parents should be able to decide for themselves.
So why don't we have that?
The FDA is extremely jealous of its regulatory authority. If they haven't approved it, it's banned.
Recently, the FDA said, we'll make a rare exception for one British company. But what took so long?
We always want to be as fast as we can possibly be while also being diligent.
The commissioner even sounds sleepy.
We have to get this right.
Finally, one other big government-created reason for the shortage.
Unfortunately, we don't really have a diverse supplier base in the United States because of years and years of U.S. government intervention in the domestic baby formula market via a program called WIC.
No more checks. Using WIC is easier than ever.
WIC, a food stamp-like program for women, infants, and children, has grown so much it now buys half the baby formula in America.
If your baby needs formula, we will help keep her fed.
Abbott Laboratories grabbed most of that market by offering the government the lowest price. But that made the shortage worse when
Abbott Laboratories issued a recall for its baby formula.
It's going to take weeks for Abbott to get manufacturing up and running again because they're going to need FDA clearance to do so. The time for fixing all of this was months before the crisis hit, because now that we have a highly concentrated domestic market, now that we have a tariff and regulatory wall around the country, you simply can't snap your fingers and expect supply to materialize overnight.
We have to move with caution as well as speed.
So much of what government does seems to be trying to fix things government messed up in the first place.
Very much so. And that's one of the most frustrating things we're seeing.
Especially with the media and politicians saying,
the real problem, as usual, is corporate power run amok.
Corporate greed, there might be a need for indictment.
The usual suspects are blaming capitalism and blaming greedy corporations. And it's clearly government policy that's causing the biggest problems.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please click this button. That'll help us make more.